On Thanksgiving, my parents gave my sister Brielle an envelope with a $13,000 cruise inside, and she screamed like she had just been handed the keys to heaven. Then they gave me a card. Inside was a $2 scratch-off lottery ticket and a small note in my father's handwriting. Don't spend it all in one place. The whole table laughed. I was Maren, 36 years old, and I had spent my whole life being the daughter who needed nothing, asked for nothing, and somehow received almost nothing. So I smiled. I thanked them. I slipped the card into my coat pocket. And 3 weeks later, that joke ticket was worth $100 million. By the time my family found out, my phone had 79 missed calls. Let me tell you what Thanksgiving looked like before everything changed. I got to my parents' house early, like always, because someone had to help in the kitchen and it was never going to be Brielle. I washed dishes, refilled glasses, checked on my grandfather, and carried plates back and forth while my sister arrived late with her husband, Maddox, and somehow became the center of the room in 10 seconds. My mother kissed her face. My father clapped Maddox on the shoulder. Everyone talked about Brielle's hair, Brielle's house, Brielle's plans. I stood by the sink with wet hands, telling myself the old lie. It's fine. I don't need attention. I'm strong, but if you have ever been the strong one in your family, you already know the truth. Sometimes being strong only teaches people they can stop caring. After dinner, my mother smiled and said they had one early Christmas surprise. She handed Brielle a cream envelope with both hands, like she was giving her an award. Brielle opened it and screamed. A luxury Caribbean cruise, balcony suite, paid in full, $13,000. My mother cried. My father looked proud. Maddox hugged everyone like he had won something too. Then my mother turned to me with a little smirk and said, "We didn't forget you, Maren." People were already chuckling before I even opened the card. Inside was that cheap $2 ticket and my father's note. Don't spend it all in one place. The laugh that followed was not loud and cruel. It was worse. It was comfortable. It was the laugh of people who were sure I would accept being the joke. Brielle leaned toward me with her cruise brochure still in her hand and said, "Oh, Maren, don't look like that. It's the thought that counts." And she was right, just not the way she meant it. The thought did count. The thought was that she was worth the ocean, the balcony, the celebration, and I was worth $2 and a punchline. My whole life was in that card. Brielle got the car, the wedding help, the down payment, the vacations, the rescue money when Maddox made bad choices. I got old mugs, gas station keychains, and "You're so independent." That night, I did not argue. I did not cry at the table. I just put that card in my coat pocket because some quiet part of me knew it was evidence. If you have ever been handed the cheap gift, the late invite, the cold seat at the end of the table, listen closely. Sometimes the insult is not in the price. It is in the message behind it. When I got home, I stuck that card on my refrigerator with a magnet. My father's words faced outward. Don't spend it all in one place. For days, I looked at it every morning, not because I wanted to feel bitter, but because I wanted to stop lying to myself. They did not forget me. They priced me. Almost a week later, after a brutal shift at the children's hospital, I came home tired enough to feel hollow. I poured a glass of wine, saw the card on the fridge, and thought, fine, let's spend the $2 joke. I scratched the ticket at my kitchen counter with a coin from the drawer. One number matched, then another, then another. My hands went still. I read the instructions twice, then a third time, because I am a nurse, and I trust checking more than excitement. It was not $20. It was not a free ticket. It was the kind of prize that says you need to go to lottery headquarters. I stood alone in my kitchen at midnight, holding the cheapest gift my parents had ever given me, and understood my life had split in two. I did not call my family. That may sound cold, but it saved me. I looked at my phone. I looked at my mother's name. Then I looked back at the card on the fridge. Don't spend it all in one place. If I had called them that night, the money would have stopped being mine before sunrise. My mother would have cried. Brielle would have needed. Maddox would have had a business idea. my father would have reminded me what family means, and I, the daughter trained to give without asking, would have been expected to hand over my miracle so everyone else could feel comfortable. So I did the smartest thing I had ever done. I told nobody. The next morning, I called a lawyer named Helena Wren. She handled lottery winners, trusts, and people who needed protection from sudden money. Her first question was, "Have you told anyone?" When I said no, she smiled and said, "Good, then we still have a chance to do this right." She helped me form a blind trust before the ticket was claimed. That meant my name never went public. No giant check, no camera, no town newspaper with my face. Just a quiet legal process and a boring trust name nobody would connect to me. After taxes and the lump sum, it was still more money than I could understand. And while my family talked about Brielle's cruise outfits, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, making sure they could not touch 1 cent. Then I went back to work. Same scrubs, same tired shoes, same children's ward. I held scared little hands and helped parents breathe through bad news, and nobody knew the nurse checking IV lines had won $100 million. That kept me grounded. Money can make people strange, but work reminded me who I was before the number. I was not a jackpot. I was Maren. And I was finally free. Before my family found out, I made my first real choices. I paid off every dollar of my Aunt Lenore's medical debt anonymously. She was the only adult who had ever shown up for me when I was young. She came to my school events when my parents were busy with Brielle. She called every birthday. She once mailed me $25 in college and wrote, "Buy something silly, not something responsible." So I gave back without putting my name on it. Then I donated to the children's hospital where I worked, enough for new equipment and a family emergency fund. I did not buy revenge first. I bought relief for people who had loved me when I had nothing to offer. Remember that because it matters. When power finally comes into your hands, where you point, it tells the truth about who you are. The secret broke in the dumb way secrets break in small towns. The convenience store got attention for selling the winning ticket. Someone remembered my father buying a $2 scratch-off with holiday cards. A cousin remembered the Thanksgiving joke. Then the first text came. "Maren, was that lottery ticket your dad gave you?" I did not answer. I finished my shift. By the time I got home, my phone was already exploding. Mother, father, Brielle, Maddox, cousins, aunts, unknown numbers. I sat in my car and watched the screen light up again and again. The people who could not be bothered to notice me for 36 years suddenly could not reach me fast enough. By midnight, there were 79 missed calls. The messages were almost funny if they had not been so ugly underneath. My mother wrote, "Sweetheart, we're so happy for you. Call us. We love you." Brielle wrote, "You deserve this. Family sticks together." Maddox left a voicemail saying he had smart ideas for investing that kind of money, and we should keep it in the family. Not one person said, I'm sorry. Not one person said, "We humiliated you." They were not sorry for the $2 joke. They were sorry the joke had turned into $100 million and they were standing on the wrong side of it. My mother left the longest voicemail. She called me, my baby girl, words she had not used since I was small. She said Christmas was coming and what mattered now was family, not money. Not money. From the woman who gave my sister a $13,000 cruise and gave me a $2 ticket 3 weeks earlier. I listened twice, then sent one message. "I'll come to Christmas." That was all. I knew they would celebrate. They would think I was coming home to be softened. They would think the big gifts and sweet voices would bring me back into place. But I was not coming for love. I was coming with the receipt. Christmas at my parents' house felt like a stage play. The second I walked in, everyone turned toward me. My mother hugged me before I removed my coat. My father stood quickly. Brielle had postponed her cruise to be with family, which really meant she had found a bigger ship to chase. There were presents with my name on them this time. Big ones, expensive ones. My mother gave me the good chair. People kept saying they were proud, they were happy, they always knew I was special. I let them perform for a while. I wanted to see the whole show. Then I set down my glass and said, "Can I say something?" The room went silent instantly. That almost made me laugh. 3 weeks earlier, I could not have made them listen if I stood on the table. Now $100 million had made my voice important. I reached into my bag and pulled out the Thanksgiving card. The room changed before I even spoke. My father went pale. I held it up and said, "On Thanksgiving, my parents gave Brielle a $13,000 cruise. They gave me this, a $2 lottery ticket and a note from my father." Then I read it out loud. "Don't spend it all in one place." No one laughed this time. I looked at Brielle and said, "You told me it was the thought that counts. You were right. The thought was that you were worth $13,000 and I was worth $2. My mother started to open her mouth, but I kept going. "I kept this card because it was the first time I stopped pretending. My whole life, you gave Brielle help, warmth, money, and attention. You gave me scraps and called it independence. Then I scratched the ticket and it won $100 million. I claimed it through a trust before any of you knew. And before the first one of your 79 calls, I had already paid Aunt Lenora's medical bills, donated to the Children's Hospital, and started a nursing scholarship for women who had to carry themselves like I did." The room was dead quiet. I placed the card on the coffee table, face up. "You valued me at $2 for 36 years. Now that the $2 turned into $100 million, you suddenly remembered I'm your daughter. But I am not funding anyone in this room. Not a house, not a business, not a vacation, not a rescue. This is not revenge. This is the receipt." Then their love turned honest. My mother cried, "It was a joke, Maren. You would punish your own family over a card?" I said, "Mike, no. I am refusing to pay for love that should have been free." Maddox stood up and snapped, "That money should help the family." I looked at him and said, "It is not family money. It is mine. It just happened to come from the daughter you all thought was safe to laugh at." Brielle tried to speak, and for 1 second I saw her old line rise in her throat. "It's the thought that counts." But she heard herself before she said it. Her face broke. Maybe that was shame. Maybe it was fear. Either way, it came too late. I did not shout. That was the part that destroyed them. I stayed calm while they got loud. My mother cried about being owed. Maddox argued about millions. My father stared at the card like it was a snake, and every aunt, cousin, and grandparent in that room saw the truth without me having to dress it up. They had laughed at the $2 gift. Now they watched the same people beg for the $100 million attached to it. I picked up my coat and left the card on the table. At the door, I said, "Merry Christmas. I do love some of you. I just won't be buying any of you." Then I walked out into the cold and drove home with the cleanest quiet I had ever known. The fallout came fast. My mother told people money had changed me, but too many people had been in that room. Too many had seen her shouting about what I owed while my father's $2 note sat on the table. I kept working at the hospital. I kept the trust protected. I bought a modest home with a guest room for people who had earned a place in my life. Aunt Lenora still does not know I paid her bills, and maybe someday I will tell her, maybe not. Brielle texted me months later. "I'm sorry for Thanksgiving and for all the years before it." I did not answer right away, but I did not delete it either. I no longer keep the card on my fridge. I do not need it anymore. The people who price you cheap are not telling you what you are worth. They are telling you what they are worth. So if you are the forgotten daughter, the quiet son, the strong one, the one-handed scraps while everyone else gets celebrated, hear me. Stop begging people to see your value. Build your life so well that their math becomes meaningless. And when your moment comes, spend your peace on the people who loved you before there was anything to gain. If this story touched something old in you, leave a comment and tell me where you are watching from. Share it with someone who has been treated like the cheap gift for too long. And remember this, sometimes the smallest insult becomes the biggest receipt. Commentary, discussion, explanation, and lessons. Now, let's step out of the story for a moment and talk about what really happened here. This was not just a story about a lottery ticket. It was about years of being treated like the easy child. Maren was not ignored because she had no value. She was ignored because she never made noise, never demanded attention, and never forced people to see her pain. Her family gave her sister a $13,000 cruise with pride, but gave Maren a $2 ticket as a joke. That small card showed a big truth. They had been placing her last for years. The powerful part is that Maren did not explode. She did not beg them to love her. She stayed quiet, protected herself, found a lawyer, used a trust, and made smart choices before anyone could control her. That is where the real revenge begins. Not in shouting, not in anger, but in discipline. She used the money to help the people who had loved her when she had nothing. She paid medical bills, helped children, and built a better future. That shows her character. Money did not change her. Money only revealed everyone else. And when her family finally called 79 times, it was not because they suddenly understood her pain. It was because the $2 joke had become $100 million. Their love appeared only when money appeared. That is why the Christmas scene matters so much. Maren brought the card back like a receipt. She did not need to insult them. She only told the truth in front of everyone. And the truth was stronger than any revenge speech. The lesson is clear. Never measure your worth by how badly people treat you. Sometimes people give cheap love because that is all they have inside. Also, being calm is not weakness. Silence can be powerful when it is used with wisdom. And most important, do not spend your life trying to buy love from people who only value you when you become useful. Give your time, heart, and success to the people who respected you before they needed anything from you. The end